You know, this is all about awareness. This is all about awareness. I tell people all the time, we as Black folks, people of color, we consume a lot of stuff. You can go to a bar and a restaurant and see a person of color with a Heineken in their hand or a Corona in their hand. We don't own those companies. If we're gonna drink it, then we should own it.
This journey is not just about beer. The beer is just one side of it. There are a lot of other elements of the company that we look to facilitate. One is controlling the narrative that, Black people don't drink beer. Black people have always had a hand in producing beer, but, ultimately that's been robbed of the narrative, and we look to be not the only company that's in operation that's bringing that back, but just one company that's happened to be doing it in a different way, particularly in the South.
Me and Mike got to talking about a beer festival and how that could bring the Black community in a way that is beneficial to themselves. It's a billion-dollar industry, and we are the most economically disparaged category in America, so this is an opportunity for us.
We had the choice to get up and get out and talk to one another and create something that lowered the barriers of racism, and that's a great thing.
The cool thing about this industry, it's a welcoming industry. However, the lack of diversity, a big number of people in the industry, it might not even occur to them. Because, if you're not Black or brown in this industry, you don't feel alone. In the beginning, I didn't feel so welcome.
We need to take this industry and we need to include. This needs to be inclusive. I think it's time in this country that we rise.
I don't know what other people do on their brew days, but we like to eat food. All right. All right. The mashing begins. Start mashing. Yeah, that smells good. Essentially, this is what we do on brew day. This is pretty much where we brew our beer at. Our garage in my house, licensing is contingent upon location. So if you don't have a location, you can't get a license. So we operate under homebrew laws. Past that, we don't have a brick and mortar yet. So essentially, you can only get our beer at events where we give it away for free. We've been trying to solidify a location since 2014, but we had a lot of bumps and bruises along the way. We're pretty close now. That's a good thing. However, we try to keep things informal and kind of just hang out and brew. Most of my friends work in the industry. We're brewing beer, we're hanging out, we're talking beer. We're just doing what beer nerds do. Okay. Yeah, it's there. Coming in this industry, we became this big family of everybody, not just Blacks, but just whites. And it's a welcoming culture. The only weird or uncomfortable moments are typically with patrons. There was this one time I was pouring at a brewery, a Russian guy came in. He's speaking Russian with his wife and I think it was his stepdad. And he comes up to me and he goes, I don't mean to sound racist, but normally if somebody says that, I'm fucking running the other way, right? So he says that and I'm like, okay. And he goes, yeah, not only have I never seen anybody that's Black working at a brewery, and I've been to breweries all over the world, but I've never seen anybody as knowledgeable as you. And I'm like, dude, that's not a compliment. I guess in a sense it's a backhanded compliment. I remember how I felt, and I was so mad. Another thing that used to get under my skin was I'd go have a beer after my shift, and they would say, hey, what do you do here? And I would say, oh, I'm a brewer. And they'd be like, oh, they have that look of shock, But my peers wouldn't get the same reaction that weren't Black, obviously. And that just bothered me. But, I just let my work ethic improve with just brewing good beer and just loving the craft. And essentially that's what I've been doing ever since, Ooh, that's nice. It's a quality thing, The problem is my liquor store that I grew up at in my grocery stores that I grew up at don't look the same as the suburb neighborhood liquor store. We were marketed malt liquor, big box beer, and that's all we know. And it's cheap, it's inexpensive. So it's a huge hurdle to cross. I'm that guy that I go to family reunions and I take kegs of beer. And I'm like, oh no, that's $10 for a 6-pack? So I get pushback from my own family, but I'm still willing to keep trying because I want them to feel excited about this stuff as much as I am excited about it. I love the fact that breweries are having these uncomfortable talks now. A lot of these people are talking about how can we get minorities involved and stuff like that. So it's great that everything's moving in that direction. You're going to increase the talent pool. You're going to increase just your exposure to other cultures. It's win-win to start getting on the diversity train. I've always had a passion for art. Started drawing probably as early as the 2nd grade. I always wanted to be an artist of some kind. I quickly discovered that I was just as passionate about beer as I was art. I was bartending at a party and I had Bitburger Pills. It just opened my eyes to different horizons because it wasn't like the big box stuff that I was drinking at the time. So, I became a fanatical consumer of craft beer and I drank it and spent a lot of money on it even before it was cool. Did that for quite a number of years until I got with this collective, this local brew club. Out of our 10, 4 of us went pro, so that's what kind of led me going down that path. So we came up with the name Bastet because it's kind of our way of paying homage to one of the first brewing cultures, Egypt. Bastet is an Egyptian goddess, and she has a beer story associated with her. And, basically, she was a protector of Ra, eye of Ra, and Ra was feeling like he wasn't appreciated by mankind. So he sent Bastet out to kind of teach mankind a lesson. First, she was just supposed to kill a few people, and she fell into a bloodlust, and she wouldn't come back when he called her back. So they brewed beer and colored it with pomegranate to make it seem like blood, and they filled all the streams and rivers with it. So during her bloodlust, when she would need to drink from the streams or the brooks, she would drink the beer, and she drank so much of it, she had a hangover for a couple of days. And after her hangover, she kind of gave in, and she was like, yeah, no more killing. She basically went back to Ra. It's our way of paying homage to Egyptian culture, and also, it's kind of one of those little fun stories of how beer saved the world, essentially.
From America's perspective, beer, it starts in Europe when you talk about the monasteries and things of that nature. But beer has a broader and richer history. You can trace that history back to Africa and even far back as the Fertile Crescent, the Mesopotamians, if you will.
I'm talking BC, 1500 BC and 3000 BC even, to the point where Egyptians had recipes written on papyrus or inside of pyramids. And they had goddess Nakasi, they had hymns, and this was a praised beverage to the point where pharaohs were allocated as gifts and be a part of religious ceremonies. They actually paid people to build pyramids with beer. It was perfected and had a lot of different styles that originated in Europe, but the beer itself happened back in Africa.
It has always been a rite of passage, if you will, and it was always spearheaded by women in our culture.
You think about how life was centuries ago when women were in the kitchen, mom, grandmom, great-grandmom. They were the ones in the kitchen brewing the beer, preparing the foods for the male consumers to drink and to enjoy. We created the recipes. We came up with, the processes and techniques. This started with our mothers and their mothers.
Believe it or not, I learned to brew from my mom. She was the one that was brewing beer when we was all kids, and I was fascinated by that. I used to love to drink that kind of sweet before they put the yeast in there, but I didn't know. I had no idea. I was a kid. So prior to opening a brewery, I flew back home to tell my mom and say, guess what? I'm gonna open a brewery. And she's like, what you gonna do? I'm like, a brewery. Because it is not a man job. I realize now that it's incredible what my mother used to do.
And no one knows to the date how long women brewed beer before men started to brew beer.
After I finish the French toast, then I'll scramble the eggs.
Usually on the weekends, the family gets together, come out to Mom's house, especially when the weather gets a little warmer. My dad will be out golfing, so we're missing him today for breakfast. But, you know, he always told me, you know, you work hard, make sure you play hard. So, you know, with a work schedule that's crazy, Saturdays and Sundays are family, church time, and that's when we get to get a really good home-cooked meal. All right, let's eat.
Dear Lord, make us truly thankful for the food we're now about to receive for the nourishment of our body. In Jesus Christ's name we pray, amen.
Amen. Amen. And bless the hands that prepared this food. Amen.
Let's eat.
Let's eat. So today we're brewing. I've got to get some malts.
That's right. We're gonna get our malts, get ourselves milled in, get ready to rock.
Okay.
Grab a couple bags off this pallet over here, and we'll drag them towards the mill.
My early influences in beer were my grandmothers drinking out of these little bottles, which they call ponies, with this liquid in it that was gold. It was just golden. And so I would see them and they would sip on this. It was the tastiest thing ever that I later come to find out to be beer. Once the wheels in the head started brewing, it was a no-brainer. My nickname is Lady Lager. I make lagers. So getting recipes together, you have to do a research of what hops are used in lagers, what malts are used in lagers, what yeast are you using. I wasn't home brewing, so I had to seek out the brewmasters here in the state and have someone make a pilot for me. X marks the spot, all right.
Runoff's going well.
Nice.
Jump on up, we'll take a look at the sparge.
Starting out, you know, after making the pilot, then we landed, you know, in one facility. And, you know, we did get some pushback. I don't know if it's a girl thing. I don't know if it's a black thing, but, you know, you just had, you know, some people in the industry who weren't really kind. They just, you know, weren't used to seeing, you know, people of color in the industry. And then all of a sudden you've got this black chick contracting in their brewery. And, you know, some people just, you know, for whatever reason, just, you know, didn't like that. Looking pretty good there, smelling pretty good too.
Right, we can close the lid too. We'll get
All right.
that closed off. And pop this one open over here.
Okay. That's just a beautiful sight. This is where we keep the goodness in. It's incredible. Looks good and smells good. Excited. All right, let's close this up. This is great. You know, the best part about this is it goes to a local farm, which is incredible. So this never goes to waste. I want to see a shift. I want to see a change. I tell people all the time, it's not about me and that can of beer. This is a bigger vision. This is a multi-billion dollar industry. And you look to the left and you look to the right, we're getting what, less than 0.2% of a $1 billion industry? That's not right. Not on my watch. All right, go. The fast process. The pack tech's gotta go on. Ow! There we go.
I believe that African traditions in terms of brewing processes and techniques were lost in translation because of slavery. So when we think about how we got here in the States, we didn't ask to be here, right? We were brought here. We did as we were told by the masters to do, right? White males began their own, processes. They've created their own techniques. Ours did not come over or translate into that. From time as we became a freed people, we were able to start doing things that we felt were ours, right? But at the same time, we have to think about the process of business owning, right? Or opening up shop somewhere.
With respect to the microbrew revolution, those initial years in the 60s and 70s, what you had there was a time when people are taking a lot of risk. That risk in particular is what has become the center of these narratives around the people who blazed the trail back then. I call them kind of our craft founding fathers. Those stories provide the recognition that I think these folks deserve. But they also perform a lot of cultural work. One of the cultural effects of this particular type of narrative has been to gloss over the amount of resources that you needed to be able to take those sorts of risks. We're talking about late 1960s and the 1970s. Schools aren't done segregating in the United States. A Black man or a woman aren't walking into a bank and getting a startup loan for such a venture at the time. So one of the unfortunate consequences of craft beer is that there's almost like this anybody can do it if they wanted to idea that's always been embedded in this narrative. And that's simply not true. It would have taken a remarkable and exceptional person and a whole hell of a lot of luck if it wasn't someone who already had means and access to certain types of privilege.
John Renthrope, his brother Jamark, and business partners Adam Dawson and Paul Taylor are competing for the chance of a lifetime to win $50,000, which would help turn their fledgling craft brewing company into a full-blown New Orleans brewery. The Cajun Fire 4 have been cultivating their company since returning to New Orleans from college 3 years ago, pouring in their life savings and energy to become only the third ever African-American brewing company in the country.
I'm very passionate about this, and I think anybody that's been coming into contact with me, it's probably all I talk about annoyingly. So they know this was a big day for me, and I hope as many people come out to support as they can.
The winner of the 2014 Big Idea, Cajun Fire.
I first decided to take my hand at making craft beer, I want to say right after Katrina, around 2005, 2006. I was trying out a lot of different products. I was on a college budget. It was a little bit more expensive than I would like and could afford. So the next best thing is I tried to take my hand at making it myself. And I already had like a culinary background with some of my family being from New Orleans. It's definitely influenced in you. You're indoctrinated in that culinary spirit. And when I started playing around with different pots and pans, trying out different recipes, I looked up YouTube. I was all on YouTube looking at different craft beer connoisseurs and seeing their take on it. And from there, I just started experimenting myself. And, you know, one thing led to another. I started experimenting with hops, water, and malt, yeast, all that good stuff. And next thing you know, I was brewing beer. My first batch came out pretty good. Honestly, that was a fork in the road. If it didn't come out good, perhaps I wouldn't be here talking with you today. Since it did, it inspired me to keep going. And it came out really well. I made a stout. That was my first beer I ever made. It was highly alcoholic. I didn't know what I was doing. I was shooting in the dark. But at the end of the day, it tastes good. So, you know, that began the legacy of which I was trying to create. It's interesting, unbeknownst to me, and when I became into learning about the history of my family, they had a history of moonshining. And so, you know, it's kind of like coming full circle, how things kind of always go back to your roots. And that's the direction I went with the beer. I decided to keep things as authentic as possible, using products that were sourced domestically as well as those that the locales could get down with as far as the flavor profiles. Just really trying to infuse that history with some of the great arsenal of ingredients that we have available today. You know, sky's the limit, so that's what I try to shoot for. Culture in New Orleans is the mecca, it's everything. We have some of the oldest foodways that date back to centuries old. If you're looking for a history tour de force, we think a pint glass is deserving of that same kind of stature as some of your gumbos, your etouffees, remoulades. It needs to have that same kind of respect and yearning. I think, you know, the situation and why craft beer is the way it is in the city, and it's evident in the overabundance of food restaurants we have, that when people come here as far as craft beer tourism, they're a little let down. There's a lot of things that's in place. I mean, one, everybody that's brewing beer looks the same. It would be nice to see more breweries that have a stake in the city actually emerge. When I say stake, I mean that actually from New Orleans. Particularly the African diaspora is something that's missing in not just the state of Louisiana, but as far as a national stage. Our product gives that consumer base something different. And also it encourages people that look like me and you, Mr. Aaron, a target market to actually gravitate to a beer of somebody that looks like you. This journey is not just about beer. You know, it's twofold. You know, the beer is just one side of it. There are a lot of other elements of the company that we look to facilitate. One is controlling the narrative that, you know, black people don't drink beer. Black people have always had a hand in producing beer, even down to home brewing. Just about everybody's mother, grandmother, ancestors have a history of doing that. But, you know, ultimately that's been robbed of the narrative, and we look to be not the only company that's in operation that's bringing that back, but just one company that's happened to be doing it a different way, particularly in the South. The main reason why we're not in market in New Orleans is probably due to legislation. There are a lot of laws that are still in place or were still in place once we was originated in 2011. We did sit on a lot of different lobbying boards to have tap rooms installed. Just to keep in reference, until 2014, you couldn't have a tap room attached to your production brewery in New Orleans or in Louisiana in general. We had a lot of people in office that they didn't know the economic opportunity invested with breweries in neighborhoods. I think our company just unfortunately got stuck in a Bermuda Triangle of legislation, and you know, we've been swimming our way out, but you know, it takes time. This mural we're walking around is actually encased a theater that once existed. This place holds a very special emotional attachment to my heart. It's actually the place where I met my wife, I want to say back in 2003. We saw a movie called Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle. We was in high school sweethearts, and that matured into being married and having a wonderful family. But, you know, this area is very sentimental to my heart. This quote is actually one of my favorite quotes that's on this huge mural. It says, "I got lost trying to be found in the dreams I chased." And I don't know who wrote it, but when I come out here to reflect, besides the main mural, that's something that really stands out to me. It's, you know, a deep quote. It has a lot of meanings. This area was once the epic center for like economic growth in the New Orleans East community. It had a lot of different box stores. You had Dillard's, you had Maison Blancs. Even today you have Lowe's, but those all have left. Those corporations have pretty much left a urban decay. Blight has retaken the area. And it's one of the things that inspires me to actually get our brewery started in this area. It's a community that needs something to have civic pride in, you need job opportunities, you need areas to create memories, much like this place once did. And yeah, our community deserves it. So that's why Cajun Fire is being built in the New Orleans East community. We want to actually create jobs, we want to create that commerce, we want to create that opportunity for people to come and enjoy somewhere that they can bring their families and share memories with and create more memories for the generations ahead.
This is no disrespect on our European brothers and sisters, because what the monks have done with the beer is nothing shy of incredible. So we have to give credit where credit is due. The bad part about everything is how other races and other cultures involved in beer was kind of left out, you know, and I blame European male arrogance in the form of big beer business and marketing, you know, and so they projected an idea of what beer should look like to the American public. We got Colt 45 and Billy D. Williams. We got St. Ives and Ice Cube. Wow, they got the Bud Light, the Miller, the Coors, the Sam Adams, you see? And so they made it through marketing and mainstream media and big beer. They made it a black, white beer thing.
I think getting minority populations engaged in craft beer culture, I think there's a perceived whether or not you're welcome, because if you walk into a craft beer bar, most of the people there are white, and you'll see that in most beer fests. People want to be somewhere where they feel like they're wanted and welcome, even if it's not a deliberate thing. If you walk into somewhere and nobody looks like you, it can be a little intimidating, and like, oh gosh, I don't know if this is someplace that I really want to be. I know there's another place down the street, maybe I'll go there instead.
I like it. When I first got into the craft beer scene, even as a consumer, honestly, there wasn't a lot of people of color even drinking or ordering what I was ordering. I was always that weird guy. Hey, what's he drinking this week? Or what's he drinking now? The lack of diversity was ridiculous. Appreciate it, man. In the beginning, I didn't feel so welcome. The fact that it took me almost 4 or 5 years of applying to get in the industry, that didn't make me feel good. At first, was I kind of slighted? Yeah, I was. I just feel like we have to prove ourselves a lot more, black and brown people. And I feel like I have to show that I belong to be here sometimes in this industry. You just gotta kind of take it in strides and, you prove them with your know-how. You just can't take it personal. You gotta show them what you can do and you show them what you know. I'm sure there are other people of color out there like me that are consumers in beer that are interested in brewing beer. So let's try to get them engaged and interested in the actual process of making beer, And if as a brewery, you're overlooking that demographic, then stop it. Give people a chance. Give these people that are trying to get in the door that you wouldn't normally give a shot, try them out. We don't have a brick and mortar yet, but we just put a letter of intent on the location in Seminole Heights. So, yeah. Seminole Heights. Yeah.
They're not official yet.
Yeah. We're trying to make it official. On Ester is a really good Saison. It's a straight up Saison, no adjuncts added, but it's gonna have like those fruity esters. We're not open yet, but we've been building presence and getting brand evangelists over the years. You know, we've been incorporated since 2014, and we've been doing the festivals since 2014. So we've kind of carved a niche for ourselves with the rare and different ingredient that we use. You know, so we like to experiment with a lot of different things, and we're also very interested in other cultures and what they ferment. I think that's what's gonna set us apart from the other breweries.
We get a lot of good feedback from these people. They come up, they come back again and again. We're doing things a little bit differently than other people do, and it resonates with people when they want to drink something a little bit different, and they're back for more. So it's kind of cool, man. It's very cool.
Where we hope to go from here is get our brick and mortar open, just sling good beer across the bar to local people, enter as many competitions as I can possibly do, and that's one of my goals, man. I want to be one of the most decorated, black brewers in the industry. I strive for quality beer, and I want to be recognized past our fans and friends and family that say, hey, this beer is good. Like, I want the hardware to go with it. Hopefully, like, once we get through this process of the location, you guys will come and fill us to chairs, man.
We've done some great things at the BA with the diversity committee. I perform a couple of functions. We can say all of them are essentially to provide help for those who want it in adding equitable, inclusive practices for their breweries in pursuit of more diversity among people who make beer and people who enjoy it. So I have a fraught relationship with the word diversity. For me, diversity is the end. It's not the means to that end. I'm not sure there's a lot of people who don't want diversity. I think there's a lot of people who don't want to diversify craft beer, right? And for me, there's a difference. Diversify is a verb, and when you say, okay, now I need you to expend effort, then there are questions of, well, why is that my job? Why is that my responsibility? Wanting diversity and wanting to diversify for me are maybe two different things. I'm trying to keep people remembering that we have a marathon to run, right? This is a slow, difficult, work-intensive process, and we gotta look at where we are and not the finish line.
For beer culture, a lot of the struggle that we're seeing for minorities is a little different. Our mission is to increase diversity, equity, and inclusion within the craft beverage space. We do that through partnership and collaboration with breweries who are ready to do the work that's necessary in order to get that done. So that looks very differently depending on who we partner with, but we do that through program building, scholarship creation, and job entries. Years ago, it was that there was no access, right? Now we have all these programs and all these scholarships and all these people who want to do amazing things. But the problem we're seeing now is what happens when you start to bring people into racist culture? Let's say you hire the black kid around the corner who knows nothing about craft beer. Tell them, yeah, we love you here. Come on into this place. Come into our space. We're gonna teach you. We're gonna, train you up, and you'll be ready to go. What happens when they're not familiar with the current culture of your brewery, right? They're uncomfortable. They're not welcomed. They don't last. The craft beer scene should diversify itself by working internally. I cannot say that enough. So do the work on the inside. Really commit to that long-lasting change.
I want to see where diversity is not an issue anymore. I want to see that you're going to go to a brewery, you don't know what to expect. You're not, going to just go to a black brewery just goes because it's a black brewery, but you're going to a brewery because it's not only great beer, but it's owned by a black or a Latino or Asian person, but you're going for that experience.
Everyone has some skin in the game when it comes to fermented beverages, and every culture has done that. And so we're here to be inspired to teach African American people of color about beer and everyone else too. So just dig deep and find out what did your ancestors bring to it and share it with the world.
Oh my God, this is incredible. The first African-American beer festival in the country. You kidding me? I've never seen so many different breweries and brand owners from across the country that look like me. We're representing females and men and black folks and the communities from around the country. And just to be here to bond with my brew brothers and sisters, this is just incredible.
I'm excited. Like, I don't even know how to. This is all bubbling up. It's real now. I mean, look in this room, man. It's all different shades, all different colors, all people backgrounds.
But this is just crazy. This is the most Negroes I've ever seen in a brew that, A part of this festival is, one, representation. Representation matters. So we're bringing out successful people that are already, doing that look like us, so that we are inspired to do that same thing.
We're trying to conjure up, we're trying to promote, black influence on the craft industry.
We had been doing the podcast, I'd say, for 2 years at that point when we first collaborated with Mike. The cool thing about Mike was he had been traveling the nation, going to all of these black-owned breweries.
I got into craft beer around 2005, and I met a guy that had a brewery in a neighborhood I was living in. Went inside and met a great group of guys from East End Brewery that kind of taught me about what craft beer was all about, how it's made, what are the ingredients, different styles. I kind of wondered, was there anybody else that felt like me? And found out that there were many brewers out there that were actually making beer. So with that, I reached out. And once I did, I realized on a grander scale, these stories aren't actually being heard. They're not being published, they're not being broadcasted. And I felt, hey, that's a lane that someone could fill. And I decided, let's explore this a little further.
And, me and Mike kind of got to talking, about a beer festival and how that could bring the black community in a way that is beneficial to themselves. Going into it, the goal was to start conversations between various communities and make a change for the good, for our people. I mean, it's a $1 billion industry, and we are the most economically disparaged category in America. So, this is an opportunity for us.
There are more motherfuckers in the Hall of Fame than there are black brewers. Y'all the OGs of this black, wave that we trying to start here. So we appreciate y'all coming down.
My father used to brew wine, so I really got interested in the whole brewing process. I didn't want to take any large loans, so I took money out of a 401k. I converted half my garage into a brewery.
It's a struggle,
Ain't no shit. He had a 401k. I don't even. You can't struggle with a 401k. That done eliminated 38% of the people in this room. So now you're a double minority in this industry. Like, where do you think you were getting the most flack in that regard? I mean, not only being African American, but being a woman first.
People don't really see me as a brewer. They think I'm the Harlem brewer, the Sugar Hill girl. I'm out there to promote the beer. You know, where's your outfit? You gotta kind of be a little less.
You're the brewer? Yeah. Oh, well, awesome.
When you look at brewing history, there's like the broader brewing history of how beer evolved. I spent some time in Africa and met African women brewers that brew traditional beers. They've been doing it for thousands of years. In terms of how craft beer evolved in this country, many of those people that came from Europe brought those traditions with them. The nature of our history of African Americans being brought here as slaves, we weren't allowed to continue to practice of many of our culture and things that we knew how to do or knew how to brew. We did brew beer for President Jefferson.
Oh, Jefferson! Is that why he claimed
and others. But all of our cultures, culturally, as we look around the room, African American, European descent, we have traditions of brewing. African Americans and African diasporic people are no exception to that. So those are things that we're trying to shine a light on so that we can all sort of connect and understand and share ideas and recipes around our common history.
A few years ago, I got a phone call out of the blue, and he wants to ask me, he's from whatever paper, and he wants to ask me whether I thought that given the paucity, of African Americans, in craft beer, whether I thought that craft beer was somehow racist. And I told him, it's like, I don't mean to be rude to you, but that's a stupid ass question. My entire career, people saying, wow, it must be fascinating for you, like an African American, to be making beer. It's like, we've been doing this for 5,000 years.
Been doing this
1,000 years.
5,000. Every single society up and down Africa, east to west, every single society is based around the brew pot. It is always communal, and then someone's got the nerve to walk up to you and say, it must be very nice for you that you've discovered this. It's like, really? Like that must be very beautiful for you to have seen it yourself, because I hope you enjoyed it. We gave it to you. I think that it behooves all of us to learn, where all of our cultures came from, and that this thing always belonged to us, All the people also in the room who are not out of the African American community, no matter what your background is, if you're here, you are one of us, and that is the most important thing, that we all have a good time together.
How's it going? How's it going?
Holy crap, I want to know everything about how you're brewing this. Like, what hops did you start out with?
I've been very consistent with my hops. They're South African hops.
Okay.
And which goes to the backstory about, being African American and, wanted to tie in like the South African hops, really paying homage to my forefathers and my ancestors, honestly.
Absolutely.
So, we just kind of keeping a piece of the story in the beer. I'm a brewer, yes. I'm a brewmaster, and we're happy to say that we're the first African-American and first African-American female brewing company in the state of Connecticut. You have to bring some friends down. Come bring some friends down. Come and sip beer with me. My aha moment, what really drove me to get into the beer industry, was I was at a beer festival with my husband, and we were walking around. I just was looking around and I was going, there's not a lot of women. And if the women are there, they're like being dragged along by their boyfriends or their husbands. They really weren't participating and indulging in the beer. And then I looked and I said, there's not a lot of people of color. There was maybe 3 of us there, and the other one was a vendor, and he was selling cigars. And when I saw that, I said, there's something really missing here. And we were driving on the way home, and he said, hon, he goes, you're really quiet. He goes, what are you thinking about? And I said, you know what? I'm going to make my own beer. There is an advantage to having a brewery and having your own space where, not having a brewery, we have to get out there and make sure the beer is in the bars and the restaurants because we don't have a tap room. Each sale is different, and I just always pitch it. Number one, it's a great product. You're meeting me personally. I'm the brewer, I'm the brand owner. You don't see people from these other large, companies. You don't see Mr. Corona or Miss Heineken walking through the door. So it's a win-win for everyone.
Hi, beer tasting today. Would you like to try?
Have you tried the Rhythm before?
Is it in Connecticut?
Oh yeah, we're local. I'm so local. I'm up the street local. What we're trying to do is we're trying to expose people, of color to the beer industry, but beers that are made by us. The first sip tastes like an IPA. The second sip, it's a three. It smooths out, and then give me the third because this is a 3-sip roll. What is the third one?
What's my second?
It goes back to almost like a cider.
I've never been to so many bars, restaurants, and package stores in my life at my age.
This is all about awareness. This is all about awareness. I tell people all the time, we as Black folks, people of color, we consume a lot of stuff. But guess what? You can go to a bar and a restaurant and see a person of color with a, Heineken in their hand or a Corona in their hand. We don't own those companies. And so bringing awareness to Connecticut or just to, the country that we have to start owning things that we consume. That's my focus. If we're gonna drink it, then we should own it. I've always been around beats and timing and rhythm, and that's essentially how the name of the brand came to life. I wanted something to connect with something that was so important to me, which was the dancing. All right, are we ready to dance? Woo! We call these salsa shoulders. At 3 years old, my mom packed me my dance bag, my tutu, my tights, and my ballet shoes. And I started dance school, ballet, tap, jazz, and just became a dancer and a professional dancer for 15 years. The ballet, tap, and jazz training ultimately led me to a couple of salsa lessons. And because of my dance training, I started dancing with the instructor at the time, and we would go out and perform. And then within a year, I said, you know what? I think I have enough training. I'm gonna go out and open up a dance studio. And that's when I opened up the Alisa's House of Salsa.
All right, we're gonna go around and around. 6, 7, and here we go. Lights, camera, action!
The way I bring aspects of my life into my beer brand is energy. Anything that I see my brand doing, it really is a reflection of me. And so when people drink the beer, I want them to connect with me through my beer. And if I can put the same energy in my dancing and in life and in meeting people that I do in a beer brand, then, I think I'm onto something. I think I'm completely onto something.
In our quest to find an actual home for Cajun Fire, we submitted upwards of 25 or more letters of intent. We've had people tell us every reasons from, they don't want to do business in an alcohol company. They don't even like our money. When there is a new emerging company or a new emerging barrier being broken, capitalism acts in a way that wants to constrict that. You look into the history of the nation, you look at pre-existing prejudices, and you can paint your own picture. It's not too much of a jump of reality that some of these lingering prejudices, indifferences still exist. The area we actually have development in is in New Orleans East, eastern New Orleans. You have a large home ownership in that area. So why we're going out there is because, one, I'm born and raised there, but also, two, we need something for the people to gravitate toward that's in that area. It doesn't need to be where we have to keep exiting out and going and traveling into the French quarters to spend our money. And if you want to generate an interest in food and beverage tourism, there's a lot of New Orleans to go around. So the area of land that we purchased, developed, and got up to grade, it's called the New Orleans East Cultural Hub. We re-subdivided the land. It's 10 acres of commercial land. We re-subdivided it. The first subdivision of the land will primarily go toward the production brewery, but also the production brewery will house a event space. But the most significant part of that aspect is a cultural hub that will have a museum that actually facilitates to the preservation of Mardi Gras Indian suits, as well as art. We really want to preserve those pieces. We really want to preserve that culture so other generations can appreciate it and they stand the test of time. The Big Chief Cream Stout, the importance of it is that it preserves Mardi Gras Indian culture, particularly that of Chief Shaka Zulu. He's a local Mardi Gras Indian, and he has pretty much a very acute appreciation as well as a leadership role in the Mardi Gras Indian culture. It is a very integral part of the New Orleans community. Every tourist that comes here, when they see the Mardi Gras Indians, they're in awe. We want to have our product be a sponsor for that so that can keep going on in generations, and hopefully generations after us can continue to be in awe at the Mardi Gras Indians.
The good thing I get out of the lack of diversity is the fact that it's pulling us together. There's no crabs in the bucket. Oh, they're gonna make more money than me at this event. Or how much is he making, how much is she making, how much is that brewery gonna make? We need to continue to support each other. And I think we're at an advantage now where we're just getting started. So we have to get that solidarity and continue on with that.
You have such a high level of consumption and consumerism in a community, it's unbalanced to not make more money off of the things that you purchase. And if that means going to purchase from a Black brewer, or if that means supporting products made by Black people, so be it. It also means collaborations. It means like, hey, here's what I can do. Here's my brand and here's my market. Let's collaborate and take both of our brands to a higher level. Fresh Fresh is a situation where we had the choice to get up and get out and talk to one another and create something that lowered the barriers of racism. So as you see, we had all these beautiful brown people out here, but we also had a ton of white faces out here. And that's a great thing. So I just think that Fresh Fresh was a big thing in kind of helping lower those bars for a little while and remind us all that we have the options to make our own paths, to write our own stories.
If you only have a certain type of person with a certain voice in an industry, then you're only going to get a certain product. I hope that the beer industry has more diversity, whether or not it's because the beer industry sees a need for it or because we kick the fucking door down. Either way, I would like to see more ice cream and Moscato beers.
We can't do this without the craft industry, without the supporters. I'm gonna read something, man. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, William Peduto, Mayor of the City of Pittsburgh, do hereby declare August 11th, 2018 as Fresh Fest 2018 Day here in our most livable city of Pittsburgh. Give it up for yourselves, y'all. We official as hell right now. It's Fresh Fest Day 1, 2, 3, Fresh Fest! So we want to thank y'all for coming out, man. Y'all enjoy yourself.
All right, everybody, we are coming to you live from the new location for Bistet Brewing. This is the lease signing party.
The new.
It was very selective with the invites. We were the only ones invited from our crew, so we feel really excited about it being here. So
Hell yeah.
Absolutely. It's like, yeah, it's a great location. If everything works out, we could realistically be building out in the end of December. Nice.
It's not even really hit me yet that this is happening, that this is real, because we've just been in that planning stage for so long. It's especially a proud moment because we realize that we are one of the few breweries with a minority head brewer in the area. And so we totally get that we are paving this road.
I tell a lot of people we are so lucky to be business partners because all of our skills complement each other. The number of people that I would do this with, I can count on one finger, and that's Huston Lett. We were made to do this together.
I'm just excited and there's just so many emotions in the last couple months. We've been doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes, but this is it. Like, we locked in and this is our location. Yeah, man, I'm just geeked at this point.
This crisis has literally put a halt with the brand. When this all hit, I mean, we would have never known, but back in February, we celebrated 2 years, literally 2 years Rhythm. We launched the Rhythm Blue, which was great. It was our unfiltered light lager. And at the same time, we were celebrating 2 years in business. We need to sell growlers. We need to get beer, out delivery. We can't do that. Our brand are in liquor stores. So it has personally affected me emotionally because I am that hands-on, go out, see the customer, beer festivals, tastings. The beer company as a whole has kind of stopped in certain ways.
Particularly New Orleans has been dubbed the epicenter, one of the epicenters in the South for the virus. So man, it's just, I'm just taking it one day at a time. Even in this time with all the crisis going on, some of those like racist things that happen in the industry are still literally arriving at my front door. Like our sign, we had a lot with our sign, like, yeah, coming soon. To date, the sign itself had been taken down 4 times. We've also had wiring that went around the circumference of the property, about like 200 yards worth of wiring and fence that was uprooted and stolen overnight. So, it ain't just a random vandalizer. It's actually intentional.
Date, initial, and initial.
Okay. I was furloughed due to COVID. My day job was graphic design, and I went back to my graphic design job after I left Cigar City. They have every intention of hiring us back. However, we're gonna be so close with this, I may not even need to go back to my day job. Hopefully I won't have to. I'm not hitting his leg, guy.
I got about 3 feet. Over, not even halfway. Not even halfway. Good.
Well, let's get it out of the way. The height's good, just come on in.
Come on down. 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 1, 2, 3. One, 2, 3. Stop walking down. Okay, the guy in the back, make sure he's got pressure on him against us. Keep going.
I need to reconsider this shit. be brewing beer right in the middle of summer. Whew. This COVID stuff has been kind of a nightmare. We started hitting delays back in November when we signed the lease, and we ordered a brew house in October. That's when the COVID started hitting in China. So we had delays there, and then right after Chinese New Year, COVID was officially a pandemic. So the government comes in, they come in to like finish our tanks. Government comes in and says, no, shut it down. So it was like curveball after curveball, man. So it's just been crazy for us. I just can't wait to get people in here and fill those seats up when it's safe. FYI, people. I'm not gonna be an irresponsible business owner and have people not practicing social distancing, but I think the whole world, man, is just ready to get this whole thing behind us and kind of get back to some semblance of reality or normalcy, if you will. Right now, you know, we're trying to push to get open in August, but who knows, we might not even be able to open, just sell to go. To go is only like 10% of their sales. You know, no breweries can survive off that. It's been a long process. And those hiccups and delays have obviously made us take longer than we expected. But I ain't gonna lie, it's been hard, you know, especially with that uncertainty of not even knowing if we can open.
You know, sometimes people have to stop. You know, people are just moving and running and racing and ripping, that sometimes we don't know that there are opportunities that are right in front of us. We're running so fast that we pass them by. Some people are like filing for unemployment. Some people are gonna lose their jobs. This is the time to figure out who you are. Dig deep, come up with that person that you know is inside of you. There's, you know, folks that are gonna come out of this with a whole new perspective.
Please, 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 I can't breathe. I can't breathe.
Hands up, don't shoot! We're built on slavery! Get away! Get away!
Hey, hey! Ho, ho! These crooked cops have got to go!
We must love and support each other! We must love and support each other!
Black is Beautiful is a collaborative initiative that was created by Weathered Souls, which is a brewery out of San Antonio, Texas, as a way to stand up against police brutality of colored people in the United States of America. Marcus, who is one of the co-owners and head brewer of Weathered Souls, also an African-American man, reached out to me right after they decided to kind of make this initiative something public and collaborative for other breweries, and asked me if I'd be a part of it. And so I talked to him a little bit about it, read some stuff on what he was doing, and decided I'd do it. The idea is that it's a beer that we all produce, the same recipe comes from Weathered Souls. We package it in similar label design that they supply to all the breweries. And 100% of the proceeds go to at least some sort of local charity work that's gonna either assist in equal rights, sort of civil rights movement, and just trying to remove, I think, as much inequality as we can in our respective communities.
Today we are here at Scofflaw to launch the Black is Beautiful beer. So with that being said, Leaders of the Brew School is a collection of several breweries in the market now and breweries in planning that are all minority owned that have come together to focus on opportunity to bring more black professionals into the industry. The vision is to create a black tap room where we have an environment which all are welcome, all can feel comfortable, that represents the diverse flavor profiles. So Leaders of the Brew School came out by us individually walking, down the road to realize that, and then meeting each other along the way, and deciding instead of working at cross purposes to band together and figure out how we could share resources to not only accomplish those dreams, but create infrastructure to allow the future of the craft beer industry to walk behind us that look and feel and sound and have those flavor profiles of people like us.
All the people that came out aren't just coming out because it's good beer. They're coming out because they're really behind what we're trying to build here, which is a collective of people of color to carve out a space in craft beer. And the Black is Beautiful movement was just a beautiful underlaying of what we were already creating. So I'm extremely proud. I'm sorry, I'm just looking and just caught up in just all these beautiful people that I see out here.
We are Leaders of the Brew School. We are the foundation, but we're not exclusive. We invite unity for all our teams. ATL Beer Gang is over there. All the societies, brewers, home brewers, fans, connoisseurs. This is what craft beer is all about, right here. This is just the beginning. We want to thank Scofflaw, where they at? Right here. And y'all just keep supporting everyone. Cheers, hold your beers up, and let's get it poppin'.
I'm just delighted to be speaking before you all. I do develop craft beer. The main driving motive behind that is socioeconomic growth. This is the first step. And the next steps, there's two options. You can either fly or take a ladder. I always recommend you fly. Just keep thriving, man. It's about like increasing our civic pride, rehabilitating the area that's been, the city of New Orleans has been kind of neglected as far as when it comes to intentionality on diverting resources back to people that look like me and you. We need that narrative, we need that investment, and we need that commitment to, improving our community. So, congratulations.
Oh my God! What's up? How are you? Wait up. Cheers. We got the craft crew for it. Thank you.
Finally opening was exciting and terrifying at the same time, to be honest with you. all breweries are feeling the sting of the pandemic still, but the little guys like us feel it a lot more than the bigger guys. We opened November 2020, and in less than a month, I got 24 taps filled with our own beer. Now that we're finally open, I feel that we can really show what we're about. We got a lot to say, and I think people are finally hearing what we're saying and translated through our beers.
And the bronze medal goes to Bastet Brewing.